Into the 80s, we are on Monday Night Live on cricket.com. My name's Avni Shekde. In the India white, we have a man in the cricket.com white, Nikhil Popat, and the cricket.com black, not a black sheep by any stretch of the imagination, and Akshay Swami. What an episode we have for you. As the thumbnail suggests, it is hotting up in the IPL. The resumption is done. We've seen some amazing games on the weekend and some amazing games in store this week as well. We'll be talking about England versus Zimbabwe and a 4-day test in Nottingham. We'll talk about the IPL replacements. We'll, of course, get chatty. We'll even get a fan on the show. And not to forget, we'll also kind of adhere to the BCCI maybe pulling the plug on the Asia Cup. Lots more in this podcast. First and foremost, gentlemen, how are you? Akshay, what have you been up to on this Monday?
Nothing, just came from a run. It's been raining, man. I mean, I'm guessing raining is an understatement. It's been pouring cats and dogs in Bangalore. Apparently, half of Bangalore is flooded. Thankfully, our part of the city is, in a much better state, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, all's well that ends well in that sense. Been playing a lot of office cricket, so that's been loads of fun too.
Yeah, office cricket, don't want to flex, but yeah, it was a good win for my boys, Akash and Anil. Props to you all. But again, Monday for me has been mundane, but I did help myself to run just before there was a downpour in my area of Bangalore. And I've been playing a lot of PlayStation 5. I basically got Cricket 24 and I've got the old squads. And now I've made like an own tournament with Dravid and Tendulkar, and the bats are legit and it's super. Nikhil Popat, what have you been up to? How's your Monday so far?
They all good. Very happy to see IPL visualizations been working fine. We could see two today as well, or one, who knows. But in other news, happy to have cricket back and just watch cricket and cherish for what is a very special season to follow. Lots to look forward to in this upcoming week.
Okay, fair enough. Straight away, daggers being fired saying no one cares. Avni, show me some love on a Monday. Show us all some love. No Shreyas in the thumbnail. I mean, Shreyas, we wanted to put him in the thumbnail, but we wanted to put Abhimanyu Ishwaran because essentially we want to talk about the India A squad as well, which I forgot to mention at the top of the show. Tanvi saying, great to see Blessing Muzarabani getting picked in the IPL. He deserves it to be a great bowler. I mean, he just literally put out an interview saying it'll be amazing if he can get 100 wickets in Test cricket, and then he'll come probably play the LSG game. Who knows? Who knows? If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. We're 100 away from 118K, which will be a milestone and a half. And if you're watching on Twitter, like Kavi19 is, give us some love from there as well. HS asking, where is the apple, Akshay? Where is the apple, Akshay?
I'm trying to understand what's that supposed to mean.
Because you normally have something or two when you're eating your chutneys or your fruit.
Well, it's usually a glass of water or something else, you never know. But yeah, not an apple for sure. It's just, thankfully, the doctors are also away, so I'll just keep it that way.
Okay, fair enough. Hello, good to see you guys. Good to see all you guys. Freaking awesome. Please drop us a like. And all you guys might be tuning in later on this week as well. Gokul, keep your comments coming through. I love the interaction already. They may go with Tushara ahead of Blessing. Look, we'll take all your comments. If we miss them out in the 12th man segment, we'll obviously adhere to them like we always do. Let's start with the IPL, boys, because, of course, the resumption really didn't feel like it on Saturday night because I did fan cams. It poured. RCB versus KKR was a no-show. And Sunday was actually a good glimpse. We'll talk about all of that. But right here, right now, playoff scenarios. Nikhil, I'll start with you. LSG are surviving by the skin of their teeth. They have to win tonight. But the other two teams, more importantly, Mumbai and Delhi. So who do you see making it to the playoffs along with the three qualified?
Firstly, the well done to the three to qualify. Two of them were in my list to qualify. The one, oh, that's another catch drop. Sorry to digress there, but yeah, the one surprise has been the team at the top. I did not see them doing such mad, crazy. I have no words to explain what GT have been doing. But maybe their heroes are their bowlers more than their batters. But there is lots to discuss there. It's that 4, 5, and 7th, if I'm reading it rightly. Those three teams have a chance. LSG even a further outside one. I think it might come down to MIDC and that game. Starting में you felt that yeah, no, DC should come back, should come back, should come back, but they haven't shown any signs of wanting to come back. So unless you have to just find a way to not do controllables, then you deserve nothing but this because it's okay to get a player injured and feel okay, hard done by. You had a guy, you sat on that replacement for years and years, and now you can't even play anybody else. So nobody else to blame. I think Mumbai are the only team who should feel that if we win two, we should be fine, and maybe that's how Mumbai will also look at it.
Mumbai, it'll be interesting because Akshay, Mumbai and Delhi pretty much have a similar sort of fate in their hands. They lose one, they depend on other people, but they have, of course, Punjab as a common factor there. How do you think that's going to play out? Those three teams, essentially, it's going to be a tough one.
I mean, it's going to be a tough one for them. It's going to be an easy one for us as viewers. We know what we can expect. Delhi Mumbai is a virtual knockout in that sense because the team losing that game will be expecting two favors from Punjab. They'll have to first expect Punjab to lose to them and then win against the opposition, whoever the other side is. Which is why they have their fate in their hands, like you mentioned. But I'm hoping, man, I'm just hoping against hope at this point in time that Delhi, like you mentioned in yesterday's watch along, the fact that they've done much better away from home, I'm hoping that they are. Oh my goodness, that's it off. But yeah, I'm hoping that they are able to do well away from home at the Wankhede Stadium. But like the text mentions over here, how can MI make it to the playoffs? They are currently fourth, and they have to beat Delhi, which will take them to 16 points, and expect LSG to lose one of their remaining games, which is versus SRE, GT, and RCB. In that case, MI would directly qualify, or else they will also have to, ensure that DC lose to Punjab, in which case, once again, they will be through. So, yeah, those are the qualification scenarios right now for the Mumbai Indians. Excited, and yeah, once again, like I said, hoping against hope.
It really is that time of year where people look at the remaining fixtures, do the math in their head, the permutation combinations, keep the points table next to them, and literally figure it out as fans. So let's just look at that next because the remaining fixtures, there are, of course, some dead rubbers, some places where teams could spoil the party, dare I say. So just look at the fixtures, Nix, and tell me which are the real ones to grab our attention. Maybe 21st May with MIDC on the line. Your beloved CSK play tomorrow, which we'll preview in a bit. And they, of course, could play party spoilers themselves in Ahmedabad 2 days later. SRH maybe to prevent RCB getting top two. And then Punjab, DC, and Jaipur will be an absolute cracker on a Saturday. I think we might do a watch along for that one as well. But again, the fixtures pick themselves. Which ones are you kind of keen on, Nix?
No, I 100% agree with the picks that you made already. I think MIDC Mumbai game might be massive, immensely important for how this league shapes up for both these two franchises. And if MI win there, then of course the PBK's game becomes even more critical for both PBKs and MI because PBKs will want to ensure that they finish up top because they would have already played DC. So to me, it is MIDC, PBKs DC, and PBKs MI because again, these are the games that I think will decide which top four, who's the fourth team, and whether we have a new winner or a second title. Who knows?
Interesting. I mean, who's your bet on then? Let's move on from this conversation because I know that LSG SRH going on. We'll give our 2 pence in that. So if you guys had to put a fourth team to qualify, who's going where? What does the heart say? What does the head say? Akshay, I'll start with you.
Heart says DC, head says, you know what it says. It says the Mumbai Indians. They are the team to beat right now. They had a very nervy loss, so to say, versus Gujarat Titans the last time they played. They will want to, bury those ghosts and ensure that they win the next time they set their foot on the Wankhede. So I'm expecting nothing different from them. So yeah, the mind says Mumbai Indians and the heart says Delhi Capitals.
I think I am with Akshay on that, to be very honest, because logically everyone would tip Mumbai because of the historical evidence. And MI fans, let me know if we're spot on or not, because like we've been reiterating in the last few minutes, these are the particular permutations, combinations. And LSG as well, they're breathing a little bit on the tough side. We'll come to their scenarios in just a bit when we talk about the LSG SRH game. But Nick's over to you then. MI or DC? Because it has to be one of these two teams essentially. No shame to LSG. So who are you going with? Mumbai or Delhi?
Nick, at this point of it, looks like Mumbai are more in place to not to commit the errors that they would want to and should see them through. Delhi, unfortunately, haven't helped themselves. That is the reason. Had they been playing better as a unit, they would have definitely had a chance. Mumbai have had that one loss, but before that, they were on a great run and they are doing lesser mistakes as compared to DC. So, just on basis of that, it is Mumbai. But I will not mind if Delhi make through. I don't care. I don't mind if Mumbai make through because eventually, I think one of those two prophecies will come good. So, yeah, let's see.
Yeah, like we said, I mean, DC has that similar fate like MI because it just makes you think about how Delhi Capitals can get over the line. And again, when we talk about them in greater detail, I feel like it just makes sense to point out the last 4 5 games they've endured as a team, and it's not the results that they wanted. They started off the IPL brilliantly, and they've almost been like a Formula One car running out of petrol in the last couple of laps. I mean, we'll talk about DC more, but this is exactly what it stands for them. Right. LFC SRH going on right now, and we want to talk about that right here because Pant and his team have just been not the best versions of themselves, Akshay. So they've made a couple of interesting changes that I'm looking at keenly. But again, what's your thoughts about this game? And do you think LSG can pull out a miracle? Because, bro, they have to win all 3 games and all 3 huge wins.
in I mean, once again, it's RCB and what they did last year that is making everyone think, you know what? Let's wait for them to mathematically also be out of the tournament before we confirm that they're down and out, which is probably the only reason why we're still saying that LSG have a chance. But of course, I still finally a catch taken. I still think that they have overachieved considering what they had done at the auction and how they looked pre-season. In all fairness, we all felt, you know what, this is a side that will be dwelling in the bottom half of the table for most of the tournament. Wasn't to be the case. In fact, if you remember the first few games, they were actually there in the top four, contending with the likes of RCB, Punjab, and Gujarat. It's only somewhere midway through where they lost their track, and yeah, they never really could come back up from it. Unfortunately, one of the biggest reasons has been their skipper Rishabh Pant's form. He himself wasn't able to contribute in the manner that he would have liked to. On top of that, injuries to some of their retentions, the likes of Mohsin Khan, Mayank Yadav, that also did not really work in their favor. But a silver lining has to be Aiden Markram and Mitchell Marsh. Both of them have turned a corner. They've just come all guns blazing and played like we've never seen before in the IPL. So good on them for backing players like Markram and Marsh, and good on the duo to come. Good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the last few MNLs, this one coincides with the game which is happening right now, LSG, SRH. And as we speak, they've got off to a blistering start. Let's see if they can carry that on. Few interesting notes before this game. Willie Rook coming in. So, I mean, the New Zealand pacer, we've seen how he's been able to cause a problem or two to some of the greats in the game in his short test career. Let's see if the IPL is also his calling. And not to forget Harsh Dubey getting a chance with SRH. Next, what's your fascination with tonight's game? And Akshay mentioned Rishabh Pant there, and Nitish Kumar Reddy comes back into the scheme of things for SRH. I'm looking at it from a test match scheme of things, not just because I'm wearing this jersey, but I'm hoping Pant and NKR come to the party here because Pant, 128 runs in 10 innings, 6 single-digit scores after 27 crores. That's tough to take. I hope he gets some runs. What are you looking for from this Monday night encounter?
Yeah, one of these was the openers getting runs, both Markram and Marsh, because it felt very odd to not have them score runs because they looked in pristine touch and they have begun in a similar manner because we kept saying that Marsh is due, and here we go. He has a very good 50 to begin with, and with LLC, I think they, as Akshay said, I concur with him about them overachieving with that bowling attack. They could have still been in much better positions had they had taken those calls better way in terms of bowling a pacer to MS in that one game that Chennai won. And those are non-negotiables. You don't have to do that. I mean, it's just there for you to take. So I think some of those calls are something that they will think about. But Akashdeep is back today. I have no clue if Akash Singh is injured because he did well in the last game and he got wickets. So I'm keen to see how do they use that bowling attack. Vishnu is back again, so I'm keen to see that. And Willow is possibly playing his first franchise league game. So that is very interesting in terms of how do they use, because in one of the games they had Mayank and Prince in a power play. So they've had different usages of people. So that will be good to see.
It's really a blessing in disguise for someone like William O'Rourke, and it's flattery almost, like you just mentioned, not played any franchise T20 cricket, and here he is playing the big beast that is with LSG. Akshay, I'll come on to the games which matter, and every game essentially matters, even though there are a few dead rubbers like CSK, RR tomorrow and stuff. LSG, SRH as well. Even if you look at the subplots, someone like Heinrich Klaasen, who's not lived up to the 23.75 crore billing, or any other player, they have to make some sort of noise, the right kind of noise in the last couple of games, so that they still get, retained in the years going ahead. So, any particular player that you want to see in this game do really well on the remainder of the games?
Nitish Kumar Reddy for sure, and I'm hoping more players sort of get handed caps. The likes of Shivam Shukla for KKR, Harsh Dubey tonight. I know he's not had the greatest of starts yet, but I just want to see more of these domestic players being handed caps and want to see how they perform at the biggest stage. Firstly, that. Secondly, in terms of retentions, Andre Klaasen again. It's such a curious case, right? On the one hand, 23 crores is big money. You know that he's probably not lived up to that billing. But at the same time, he's not done too badly. If you just look at his numbers in isolation, peak average in 30, strike rate 150, you take that. It's only because of the fact that they've shelled out 23 crores for him that makes you wonder, what, is he worth it? But unfortunately, there's no concept of, sort of going down on your contract fee. You cannot reduce or you cannot take a pay cut. And so, which means the only way they can do this is retain him for 23 crores and tell him कि बस मैं तेरे को सुमड़ी में कम दूंगा लेकिन जो भी हो पर्स में से तो 23 करोड़ कटेगा. So that doesn't work for anyone, and I don't think they would want to wage a risk or wage the risk of letting go of him and buying him back later on at the mini auction. So yeah, it's a very tricky situation, but I would expect them to just hold on to him at this point in time.
Yeah, interesting points. Very interesting subplots. Like I said, you mentioned even Harsh Dubey there. I was thinking about it because, yup, he absolutely ripped up the Ranji and got all the wickets this year. And he's already kind of bowled his quota 4 overs for a spinner in 11 overs done. So props to him and props to Pune boys watching this. He's a Pune boy. I don't know if he'll go on to play for India. I hope he does. And not many cricketers come out of that part of the world. But if Harsh Dubey does well, he does well. And Gokul Garg calling the game as we call it. Lots of you guys having random things to say, which we'll take because there's so much to dissect to. I've not even got started about the possessed man in Sai Sudharsan. The chat is whether he can, of course, overtake Virat Kohli's 973. I don't want to put any mockers on it, but 600 odd runs in 12 innings is ridiculous. We'll talk about that in further detail in just a bit. And 200 plus has never been chased at the Ekana, saying freaking awesome about this game. So it is something to think about. Hey guys, just watching LSG versus RCB to see how the new players fare, also how effective they will be against RCB. Saying Chandan Ramya, props to you. We'll of course adhere that in moments time. And Kadamba guy saying, please read this. Blessing is 6.6 foot 8. And I'm guessing 6.67 is Hazelwood. Tim is 6.5, 6.3 Romario. Imagine Kohli getting physical fight and a good team to back him on a multi-level and ground strategy with TK Professor getting goosebumps. I mean, essentially, when I was telling Akshay and Vikas off camera that during the RCB Unbox event, Hazelwood and Romario Shepherd looked like Kohli's bouncers because they were right behind them and they were actually doing that. So the height, if this was a football team, RCB would win all the set pieces. That's for sure. Keep your comments coming through. I know Abbas Kunde asked us about something. We will talk about it in just a bit. Seem Hans has entered the chat saying, Akshay, wonder if the logic you mentioned about Klaasen was the same that KKR used for Stark last season. I mean, he's holding you hostage, mate. They don't forget the chat,
No, I'm guessing he's asking me. But with Stark, again, the difference is the fact that was a mega auction, right? So you can still cut KKR some slack. In this case, it's a mini auction. You won't have too many other players coming in. With Stark, you knew you had Hazelwood, Bolt, the likes of Spencer Johnson, whom they eventually bought. You had so many options available at the auction, which is why you could see where they were coming from. And on top of that, they had better, players to retain. I mean, more sort of future potential that is in terms of Ramandeep, Varun, Harshit Rana. So I wouldn't fault KKR for not retaining Stark.
Okay, fair. More comments to come through. Tanbi53 is loving the thrashing that LSU are giving SRH at the moment. And freaking awesome saying yesterday DC had a great chance or a good chance, but their bowlers let them down completely. Absolutely no fight at all. DC's home record is poor and it continues. I mean, yeah, they won that super over against RR, but they lost to RCB, they lost to MI, and they, of course, lost last night. So time to think about for Imam Badani and crew. My beautiful team going to think it's the first match of a new season. AJ Ragnarok, who do you support again? Let me know. And tough
Mumbai
to he
Indians.
supports Mumbai. Tough to beat Emma in Mumbai with how DC is playing and lots more. Samita saying RCB Emma lock you in as a final, I'm guessing. Cricket for adding saying, guys, just check the table and realize that RCB can slip to the third position. PBKS can move up to top two by the end of the league stage, and RCB would play eliminator against Emma, and RCB could get eliminated. I mean, ifs and buts can always be discussed, but if what happens, man. Like me and Akshay were having a kind of a pulsating conversation yesterday in the watch along, which we'll put a reel out of in terms of just how RCB fans want to see them win the title. If they do win the title, is it going to be the easy way out or the hardest way? As RCB always do it. So, of course, it can be debated. Next MNL has to be a watch along. Also, what is next MNL? Because if we go back to that remaining fixture
I know
sheet,
next Tuesday is RCB LSG. Okay, next Monday is Punjab Mumbai. Oh, that'll be a fascinating game.
that will be a fascinating game. So, I mean, let's see what's in store if we can give you that. But now we'll move on to an important part of this podcast because, as the thumbnail suggests, there have been a lot of replacement players and good for them. One of them being Blessing Murtabani, who, of course, is a tall, fast bowler for the West Indies. Zimbabwe, what am I saying, West Indies? Zimbabwe, who's literally going to make an RCB debut potentially. Who knows? But he replaces Lungi Ngidi, who goes back. And first ever Zimbabwean player, Akshay, for RCB.
That is correct. No
So
one's
who
ever
knows
played
if
for
it's Andy Flowers pulling the strings, and it just makes me think now RCB fans will be watching that England Zimbabwe test even more to make all the short sharaba over there. Right, next, what's caught your eye? So many replacements from Kusal Mendes, of course, filling in for Josh Butler, Muzarabani being the latest one. Even KKR did something crazy this morning, right? Talk to me about that and your pick.
And very good from KKR to give away their plans that they wanted more mystery options. So they've signed Shivam Shukla for one game so that I'm happy for the bowler. I'm delighted for Shivam because if he does well, plays one game and he does well, then it will be great because then teams can hike the price for him and then he can go wherever he goes home richer. So always happy for the players in that sense. I think Sedugula was the name that I was surprised did not start in the last game because Delhi have an opening problem. But then again, this is one of those problems where if you name an overseas guy or vice captain, teams are not going to put it out that okay, we'll do without you. Uh, Mitch Owen played yesterday. Very interesting shot first up, but again, I don't expect anything else. Interesting that batting orders are changing. Shreyas batted at 5 yesterday. Rishabh Pant has come out at 3 today. So I I'm not too sure. KL Rahul opened yesterday after all the debate that the guy was there for you from the start of the season to open. But sometimes, oh, is that? Oh, sorry. Uh, for a change, we have a very good catch being taken. So honestly, surprised by Ihsan Malinga and Rishabh Pant 7 of 6, eventually 7 of 7, maybe. But yeah, Rishabh Pant is out. Sorry. Completely distracted. That's a line of thought there. But Blessing is a good pick. I wanted him from 2021. And smart from RCB to get a guy with good height because that is what they're wanting from that overseas pick. So I don't know if he will start, but if he does, all the love and blessing with him.
Yeah, pun intended there. Blessing, I think, was a net bowler for LSG, if I'm not wrong,
Yeah.
in 2021. I think CSK also wanted him at one point in time,
He was
but
supposed
now
to be
he is.
signed from Arkwood,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
did not go through.
it didn't go through. But like Nick was suggesting, those replacement picks, and producer was throwing some graphics. We'll just, of course, reflect that for you again and quickly skim through it. Butler out of playoffs, we know that. So Kusal Mendes, the Sri Lankan, gets his chance in the big league. And then Kagisa Rabada, of course, the replacement's yet to be named, is what we understand. Punjab have a whole host of ins and outs. Mitch Owen, we saw what he did, the Hobart Hurricanes hero. There's, of course, Carl Jamieson, who's come in to replace Lockie Ferguson, and Marco Janssen still not been named. So let's see how that really unfolds for certain teams. Mumbai, as you can see, they got Richard Gleeson, who, of course, did play for Chennai, I remember, and Bairstow as well is another big sort of replacement in terms of playing in the IPL, and not to forget the remaining names more on cricket.com's website. The final one that I'll throw Akshay is about Rabani, because when you woke up this morning, Akshay, blessing, was it a curse or a blessing?
I actually woke up to Nikhil Bhai's message saying blessing has been signed by RCB, and I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, wow, what a way to wake up. I mean, what a piece of news to wake up to. Again, he's genuinely been a good bowler, and I'm no bias in this, because I truly think any side he'd been picked by, I would have been backing that side, because I mean, for donkey's years, been saying, you know what, teams need to stop looking at teams, looking at countries or something like that, and assume, you know what, if this guy's from a certain nation, then he might not be good enough. वो एक barrier सा बन गया था, you know what, players from Zimbabwe, Bangladesh might not be good enough for this level. So very happy to see that barrier being broken by RCB and Andy Flower in particular, because in all fairness, this is Andy Flower's pick. Who are we fooling here? Because this happened with LSG, it's happened with Multan Sultans in the past, it's happened with Gulf Giants for a couple of seasons now. Happy seeing that Blessing has also gotten a gig that he truly deserves. Make no mistake, this isn't like a sympathy pick or something like that. He truly deserves to be in the tournament, which is why he's been picked. And I'm not even kidding. I wouldn't mind seeing him over Tushara at the playoffs. So excited to see how he goes about his business. Tall, lanky fellow, 6 feet 8 inches. Might not be the paciest of bowlers, but again, hits those hard lines, gets that extra bounce, and who knows, venues like Kolkata or Bangalore or Mumbai, just that extra bounce, and he might be the decisive factor, the differential between the two sides.
Let me just ask you a quick one before I go to Knicks again. With Blessing Muzarabani, in case he does take his chance with both hands, and I mean, has an amazing debut to remember, and then there's a temptation because of the profile and the bowler that he is, RCB want to retain him. Can they do so in such conditions? Can you explain it to the uninitiated?
No, so every player picked after the suspension of the IPL, those replacements are not eligible to be retained. Only those which were signed prior to the suspension are the ones who are eligible to be retained. So, unfortunately, Blessing may get blessed by a few more bucks, and may he go to a good team, and that a team will be the one that we will back.
Okay, interesting. I mean, let's see if that happens. Pant can't catch a break. Nothing's going in his favor. Everyone's, of course, watching the LSG SRH game as the Monday Night Live is going on. Asiman saying, Akshay, you mentioned Blessings isn't a sympathy pick for RCB. Can you then explain why LSG didn't ever play him despite him being a net bowler for them in 2021? How do you want to answer this one off?
Because he was the net bowler, Asim. He wasn't a part of the squad. He was picked as the net bowler. Net bowlers cannot play for your side, na. If net bowlers could have played for your sides, and Akash Madal would have played for RCB, then even Shalom Shukla would have played for RCB. There's so many bowlers who, he was just a net bowler. He wasn't a part of any squad. There were talks. So I still remember when Mark Wood got injured, Taskin Ahmed and Blessing Muzarabani were the two names that LSG keenly wanted. Unfortunately, BCB refused to give Taskin the NOC, and Blessing, for whatever reason, was not able to go through with his contract. So something happened, and we eventually went there with someone else.
Yeah, and
Okay,
just to add,
go
Andy
on.
Flower was with LSG then. So those lines are all.
Those
Yeah.
lines are obvious. Next, back to you. Any other particular replacement players to note? Because so many happened, and we're yet to see a few. Can you tell the people what they should see this week?
Yeah, I expected Kyle Jamieson to also play. I was surprised that Bartlett played. Maybe that is just Ricky wanting to give Bartlett another game, because even in the game against RR, there is a clear way that people are going to start him to target Punjab's bowlers. Then even Arshdeep was the one who was not spared by RR. So I genuinely felt that Jamieson could be the guy that they could really try and see if they can get him to rhythm, because again he's going to be there. So there is no point of not playing him, so to speak. So, and again, he's an injury replacement for Lockheed. So different works differently that way. So he's the one guy. Mitch Owen again batted at three, so he's an interesting aspect. MI's replacements, we'll have to see if they make it to the playoff because then I am very sure Johnny Baba will either teach us a lesson or he'll teach the opponent a lesson because Johnny Besto in IPL is always historic, either this way or that way.
And that too with the Mumbai Milk, Honey, Ambani ka paisa, AC, सबको Johnny Bhai will be like just unleashed. It'll be scary, honestly. Cricket for keep the comments coming through. Guys, you know what? In my humble opinion, there should be a rule in the IPL auction that every franchise has to pick a player from the overseas country, mandatory. It is a good rule because essentially you want to, of course, encourage more countries, but then because it's such a cashless league, you don't want to, of course, just have people just participation's sake. Never in my life thought would I see Emma and Besto sing Abbas Kunde. And how's the weather? What's the chance of the RCB SRH game? We'll preview that in just a bit. We're going to talk about the recap of the weekend and, of course, look forward to week 8 of the IPL if it is week 8. And Akshay, before we move on from this replacement chat, AJ Rackrock saying, so the replaced players before the break are still not eligible, right? Example, Simarjeet. Can you clarify again, please? Sorry.
No, they are eligible. And wait, what happened to Simarjeet? I don't think Simarjeet has been replaced by anyone. Harsh Dubey came in as Smaran's replacement. And every player who's replaced before the break will be eligible to be retained by the sides. Basically, the original rule, like fuck all the break and everything. The actual rule stated by the IPL is that any player injured during or before the 12th game of the season is eligible to be replaced by someone else. उसके बाद आप replace ही नहीं कर सकते. So that's the rule. Now, because this break happened in between the tournament where some teams had played 12 games, some had played 11 games. So just to maintain parity and ensure that no team is hard done by, they decided कि boss replacement में तो सब teams को time मिल जाएगा to think properly and re-strategize and everything. That's why they were like, boss, आप ले लो जिसको चाहे लेना आप ले लो, but we won't allow you to retain them. Simple. So that's it.
Okay. Mohammad Aran saying, I actually thought the situation would have actually led to active trading between teams. Would have been cooler to say that, in my opinion. And some with me kissing injury replacements are allowed, unavailable player replacements are not allowed. And why is nobody going for Naeem saying, asking Abbas Kunde? There was another comment from Darshan Center which said, speaking of associate players, I heard somewhere they tried to sign Brendan McMullen for the PSL, but he was not available. I wouldn't be surprised if he's been picked for the IPL. I mean, surely these players are on everyone's radar, right, Akshay?
Yeah, 100%. And I'd love to see Darshan. I'd be the first one jumping with joy if McMillan gets picked. But I'm guessing that he was second, first Nikhil Bhai. But I'm guessing he wasn't available because of the Netherlands, Scotland, UAE tri-series going on, not because of the IPL. But with Charit Aslamka, apparently that is the case, where Peshawar Zalmi did want to sign Aslamka a couple of, not a couple of weeks back, just like 6-7 days ago. And apparently they had reached out to him like a couple of weeks back when he confirmed verbally he was available. But later on, he went back on it, citing other commitments, which has led to even more speculation that one of the IPL sides have lined him up. Boss, आप कहीं और मत जाओ, आप IPL के लिए आ रहे हो.
Nix, I mean, it's so much cricket transfer news. It's mad. It's almost like football season. Charit Asalanka was, I think, also maybe heading to MI before Bairstow came in. Who knew players like that could get big gigs like this? I mean, they're talking about Virat Kohli next to Middlesex. So obviously, essentially, there's transfers happening everywhere. By the way, there is some love coming Nix's way from Samish Santosh saying, finally, SRH listening to Nikhil Bhai. Man was cheering for NKR. Go bowling though. Finally, he's bowling. All hail Nikhil Bhai. We have a surprise for Nikhil Bhai. I think later on the show, I think the producers clipped out something that he soothsayered last week. We'll play that at the right appropriate time. And see, I thought it was the international duty too, but George Manzi has signed to play the PSL. Again, certain teams won't require certain particular subtleties in T20s, and then players will be selfish and be like, look, I'll try to just jump on the bandwagon of any franchise right now and try to make myself a name there. Remember, we're making ourselves count as well. We've been doing that for the longest time, cricket.com, and they've been beautiful in terms of the podcast. 80 podcasts now available on Spotify. And if you guys are listening there, give us a like. And 183, if you're watching this live, I would appreciate if you guys just drop a like and tell a friend and share this podcast, because we are, of course, been doing it for the last 80 Mondays. We've not skipped one. Right. let's move on because essentially there's still lots to get through. And we'll talk about the IPL still because we saw the weekend go by and we'll recap it for you right now. Nick, so obviously I'll start with you because there's nothing to talk about Saturday night. RCB KKR, just a point there, and then KKR going out of the competition. Um, is there anything that we can add with KKR fans watching this and be like, yeah, what can they do? Because they were the defending champions, and then for them to bow out, not in with a fight, it was almost like a timid cat on a Sunday afternoon.
Here, I think I genuinely hope KKR are able to identify the problem because I don't think the problem is in the squad. Sorry to put it out that way because if you cannot acknowledge the amount of part luck plays into cricket, you will not be looking at the right numbers. There is enough evidence already out in the market that 2024 was an incredibly lucky time for Naren with the bat at the top of the order. And the second guy who was the most beneficial was Phil Salt. If you refuse to acknowledge that and you still think कि भाई नहीं Naren चल जाएगा, dude, there was a reason why he was not working. It worked out one season, but you cannot be so rigid. And again, I'll end up repeating myself that beat RR, beat KKR, some of the tactics have been so self-damaging that we will change everybody else, but we will not change the straight away answer that is there in front of us. Okay, remove Naren from opening, push everybody up. They play in their natural roles. They'll do better against spin when they are set. But sometimes you need seasons like these for teams to course correct. Even CSK had to have a season where they'll probably finish on the bottom for them to realize that you will have to try and get people who can hit sixes naturally. Sometimes you'll not be able to manufacture people and give them the confidence because it has to come from them also. So I think KKR's bowling and the strategies are something that I feel have been a letdown, and a lot of it is also planned. So I feel it is a control level that KKR did not do well. Hopefully, God bless you, Akshay, they do that next year and come back stronger.
Yeah, KKR for me has been very disappointing because I called it at the start of the season. You don't let go of your winning captain, someone like Shreyas Iyer. You can't let go of someone like Phil Salt, who's been numerically the best T20 opener since 2023 across T20s. And then, of course, letting go of Stark as well. What I would say is that I like the and R in Raghuvanshi at 3, Rinku at 4, and Ramandeep at 5. I think it's criminal that Rinku has just been used as some 3-over slogger chap, like which is bizarre. I think KKR need to sort that out. I'm not blaming Ajinkya Rahane because he's done pretty well. I mean, over expected in terms of our expectations, in terms of power play batting and all that, but then it ends there for him. But nothing much to really pick out of KKR. Akshay, I'll skip the KKR chat with you and we'll reflect in Sunday's games because people in the chat like Gokul Garg is saying, talk about yesterday's games. Everyone's talking about Sai Sudharsan. So we'll go chronologically. So RR lose again. Now, Dravid came out yesterday not saying anything about the batting, but pinpointing the bowling, which is what he's done throughout in his press conferences. And God bless Rahul Dravid because he's going through COVID or whatever. But essentially, right now, how do you see RR after yesterday's game, bro? I mean, essentially, was it their bowling? It has to be their batting. Another chase bottled.
Wait, Jami is down with COVID. ये कब हुआ?
Apparently, there's news
Oh,
with Dravid also
that's.
catching it.
I hope this isn't the COVID. This is COVID then. But I mean, bad joke apart. About RR, I actually have to say, man. Now that you mentioned Rahul spoke about it, I do believe that Dhruv Jurel has been getting too harsh criticism, to put it very mildly. I think it's been very unfair, the conversations that have been happening around him. I'll admit that there will be a bit of bias because I think there's a lot of potential there. He is someone who deserves, a top 3, top 4 spot and all of it, agreed. But this season, at number 5, the guy has scored 302 runs at an average of 35 and a strike rate of 155. If that isn't what you want from your number 5, then I don't know what you want. I get it. I get it. You bring in players to win you games. Has he won you games? The answer to that question is there resounding no. No two questions about it. Then I'll have to, I'm not going to say that, that is Jurel's fault. But where I think RR has struggled is they've almost invariably chased above par totals throughout the season. And the fact that they've come to sniffing distance of chasing down each of these totals almost every time speaks volumes of the kind of batting lineup they have. Even the very first game that they played against SRH, despite conceding 286, they came back, they fought, they scored 243 themselves. That's saying something. Each of their chases, they've had what eight unsuccessful chases this season. Five of them have been lost by a margin of less than 10 runs, which means they were right there. It's not like they were comprehensively defeated. It's just one of those seasons, man. You have to brush past it, you have to look past it. But I'm happy to know that they have admitted to the fact that the bowling is huge this city. They just don't have the bowlers. They have to look hard. So I don't think it's the batting that's an issue. It's the bowling. Only because of the fact that it's वो last के 2 over batting कर रहे हैं. I mean, that's the reason why the spotlight is on the batters. It's because of the fact that Dhruv Jarrell or Shamron Hitmaier or Rian Parag facing the last couple of overs. It's not, Jofra Archer failing to defend. That's the reason why the batting gets a lot more slack. I mean, I hope, sorry, not slack, flack. I hope that, others also recognize that. Of course, that does not mean that Dhruv Jarrell is exempt of all criticism. अंडरस्टैंडेबल कि भाई तुम इतना अगर खेल रहे हो तो मैच जिताना भी आपका ही काम है वो भी मैं मानता हूं बट him being made the sort of scapegoat for all of this is a tad bit unfortunate.
See, with my thing on RR is even if you look at them 2, 3 years ago, they were actually a decent team with Ashwin there, Chahal there. Now, if you go into a season with two of your overseas spots being spinners, and that too, not the world's best spinners, no offense to Hasaranga or Theeksana, but it was never going to really entertain me as an RR fan. The other thing about it is, again, the silver linings that we always associate RR since the inaugural trophy win in 2008 is that look at the conveyor belt they've been for Indian cricket, the youngsters that they're giving a chance. And even this season, we'll all look back with glee when we think about the name Vaibhav Suryavanshi. Even someone like Quentin Mafaka, who knows what he can achieve in his young career. So with Dravid there, I think those are definitely the big takeaways in the larger picture. This year, again, it might be a season to forget. Many people having their say about RR, and I'll come to Knicks in just a bit. RR should drop Hetmaya and get in a gun all-rounder. Cam Green would be perfect, saying Mohammad Iran. I mean, we can all have our aspirations as franchisees, but if that actually materializes, it'll probably be great because they've had some really bits and pieces all-rounders, Jimmy Neesham, Darryl Mitchells, those kind of all-rounders, which haven't really punched above anyone's weight. Asiman's saying with Jurel, the issue is he plays dot balls initially and then picks up later. Those dot balls don't come back, and there's just too much left in the end. So RR come close, Jurel scores, but they lose. It's a good point that you make, Asim Hans, because even if you look at yesterday's game, Punjab RR, in an afternoon game, Punjab, even though they were put on the pressure early, they managed to rotate strike, and Nehal Videra, Shashank Singh were beautiful to do that. 30% apparently of just dot balls for them compared to RR's 69%, which is absolutely unthinkable when I saw the stats last night. It's all wrong with their philosophy saying AJ Ragnarok. If even an impact player, you can't play proper number 7 finisher, then this is bound to happen. It doesn't stop there, guys, because Mohammad Haran saying RR are the opposite of KKR. They need to look long and hard at their bowling lineup. That lost them this time. And speaking of KKR, Darshan Senthil's not holding back too, saying what's funny about Narayan is that KKR have tried to open with them in 2 other leagues and it hasn't worked out for them. Look, KKR and Nara have got some pelters, but keep your comments coming through. Next, let's talk about the second game then, because we can all have a Sai Sudharsan appreciation moment or moments right now, because how good is he? How good was he last night? And what is the ceiling for this boy? Because there was actually one Tamilian uncle who stays in my building. And even though Chennai Super Kings are not in the IPL anymore, he's just super happy and proud because he's Tamilian. And Sai Sudarshan had put, obviously, Tamilians on the map once more if they needed any of that doing. But this man is so good. And you could just tell me, even in terms of your analysis, what can we expect going forward? Because he's announced himself to the world. He's more than just a household name. He's in the India A squad. The world's his oyster.
Yeah, truly. And to speak about Chennai, he wanted to play for Chennai, but did he outbid them? So some stories are well written up there, and credit to Sai and credit to Akshay also because he was the one who called Sai being orange cap contender, and there you go. Sai's been right up top. I think the thing that has surprised everybody is it's almost like everybody has waited for them to fail. Okay, I mean, now he'll fail. See, now we'll get a top of a ball, he'll get out. Now we'll get a short ball, he'll get out. Now we'll get a Yorker that he can't play, he'll get out. But he hasn't missed a ball. It is as simplest form of batting as it can be that you rarely see him miss a ball. And it's funny how cricket can look so simple and yet be so hard that he's doing that at a healthy strike rate. So plenty of daggers around early in the world where अरे anchoring कर रहे दोनों जन कैसे जाएगा? How will they get to pass course? But they haven't had to chase above par scores because the bowling has ensured they're chasing under par scores in almost every single game. So I think, as Sanveer said, it's a match made in heaven where GT wanted somebody like a side that who can bat at a set rate, consistent number of games without taking risk. And that is something that I don't think can be tangible, can be quantified. Ke at this point of time, Gill still feels that he's taking a risk at times. Sai ke sath, I can't recall a simple or a single innings where he's played a lot of risky shots to get going. So the release shot is never a risky shot. It's always there in the armory. So for Gujarat's sake, touch wood that it continues for in all in for all things that matter. Two more games in the playoff because if from here they do not go on to win, they will be incredibly sad that after pulling this off, if he can't do this, then I don't know when.
I mean, adjectives is what we're running out with because Akshay and I were doing the watch along yesterday, and Asim Hans was asking, of course, earlier in the chat, saying if Stark was there, would there have been a difference? I just generally think Delhi have just been off the boil. Akshay again letting the motions flow as a captain, getting his bowling selections wrong, maybe in the power play as well, with Natarajan in the new ball, and then of course having Chamira there. It just unfathomable. Akshay, my question to you is Sai Sudharsan, talk of the town right now. You've been calling it for a long time that this boy has all the skill sets to go all three formats essentially, right? And yesterday, what we observed is that yes, he has poise and precision, and he can really nudge and nurdle, but also he has kind of that little cheeky swagger. He's not a flashy kid, but that no-look shot to Natarajan just shows us that this guy also has some ticker, something in him.
For me, what really sort of stands out when it comes to Sai Sudarshan is not what he has. It's literally the lack of any discernible weakness. More often than not, when you see a certain batter, एक आपको लग जाता है the way he moves his feet, the way he plays his shots, the way his backlift is, थोड़ा आपको लगता है कि हाँ ठीक है भाई यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा ये कर सकते. With Sai, there's nothing that anyone can say कि भाई ये करो 100 नहीं तो 80%, 80 नहीं तो 70% आपको विकेट मिल, मतलब there's literally nothing. You have to just keep bowling relentlessly good balls to expect a wicket coming away. And that's been the case with Sai Sudarshan for not just this season, for the better part of the last 3 years. The fact that he's had only 2 single-digit scores or 2 scores of less than 10 in 40 innings, that's crazy consistency, man. And I myself have been guilty of this earlier, where I thought, you know what, this guy plays extremely risk-averse cricket. So in all likelihood, this guy's first time ball strike rate might be on the lower side. He probably takes a lot of time to get going, which is why he has such good numbers. Ye average ye sab bada ke kya fayda and all of that. I also sort of had those preconceived notions. Lo and behold, I checked the numbers. The guy's also high, or very, very, very high, not just high. On top of those charts as well, he's got a first time ball strike rate in excess of 140, which is not something many players can boast of. And for him to be able to marry such good consistency with such a good strike rate, geez man, it's a very potent combination, one that will serve Gujarat Titans and Team India for the future.
Yeah, well summed up, and there's more data to, of course, digest on cricket.com's website. If you guys love that written side of content, go check out some of the pieces our writers have been putting out, and props to them as well. Nick's sticking with GT before we move on to the KLR chat, as that lower third suggests. Shubman Gill is firing. I know that Butler, of course, wasn't even needed yesterday, but unfathomable, yeah, to think a team can win by 10 wickets chasing 200 plus. I know Pakistan did it against England and international, but just twice in the history of the format. So, again, your reflections on last night?
Yeah, again, absolutely impeccable. As you said, this is the one time where you are genuinely out of sheer understanding by what is happening. Because, see, invariably you expect some law of average, something where You induce a mistake, but it has just not come. And I think it's also a good sign for the batting team that the plans have been such that they haven't required to do anything else because teams have fed them some absolutely horrible stuff. Then all they have to do is just put the bad balls away. Even in the game yesterday, you see after the power play, they had a good lull. DC came back in the game with good tight overs from Vipraj, and then Kuldeep bowls another tight over. And then what do Delhi do? They go to Akshar Patel because they want to bait a wicket. What happens? He starts with a poor ball, khatam. All the pressure is off, and then they don't need second invitation. So it's those small margins, and again, GT are doing the controllables Pro Max. Let's put it that way. Very rare do you see them not do the basics well. With the batting, there is still a lot of scope where you feel ke, why Sundar चार पे क्या कर रहा है? Why is not Shahrukh coming and all of that. But the fact is the team is winning and they are not even winning after having to break a sweat. Mumbai game was the one game where you genuinely felt, they could lose this one. And even then, even in 15 of 6, you had Iceman, Tewatia getting the job done. Uh, so far, so good. And may just this continue because at this point of time, I only feel Gill's centuries will come in the playoff. So far, he's missed out on three. Would get two in the playoff and see them through to victory because the guy has been playing very well. I know Sai gets all the accolades, but it's the sixth hitting that Gill is doing, which Sai may not be doing, but they are complementing each other really well.
Yeah, beautiful from both of them. And let's see from a GT perspective, they can actually move on. They play CSK next, which we'll preview in just a bit with all the games coming up this week. Many people saying Sai and Test and ODI have high hopes, saying Abbas Kunde, Tushar saying the way you guys and commentators are playing Sai, I hope the commentators curse doesn't happen to him. We don't want to put the mockers on him. We love what we're saying, even as a neutral perspective. And Gokul Garg, who's been amazing throughout this live chat on the Monday Night Live, saying need to score 230, 240 to beat GT like PBKS did earlier. Right. Finally, before we preview this week, we want to review Sunday in terms of the KL Rahul 112, which went in vain. First and foremost, props to him by scoring another 100 for another franchise. Third team now he's done it for, which is brilliant. And he's also become the first right-hander to do it. I mean, I know Sai got to his 100 yesterday, but he was a left-hander. But KL Rahul doing it was absolutely phenomenal. I don't know if we've clipped that out. We have, because essentially Nikhil called correctly when I asked him this in the previous M&M.
Okay. And sorry, I'll just add because we are saying.
Have we put that clip out? Oh no, it is.
And sorry, I'll just add because we are saying we could even see two right-handers score the turn in the same way. And just for the record, that orange cap prediction still looks odd. The orange cap tie that we spoke about before the start of the IPL.
Yeah.
Let's wait on that.
I mean, essentially, it's just a proof which goes in Nick's favor in terms of how he calls the game, predicts things for a living. So well done, Nick, on that. And right now, I want to ask you boys about KL Rahul really quickly because, Nick, I think you hinted upon it earlier in the podcast that KL opening has been great and they've chopped and changed his position. Is that one of the detrimental factors for Delhi this season as well?
It is something that I'm starting to feel is a problem when you have people like KL, that you feel they can bat anywhere and they'll do decently well in different spots, but then it makes you feel very complacent that, oh, now we don't need a replacement, we can stay back. But the point is you cannot keep doing it and expect similar results. The game yesterday, you read how people feel about the game. It almost feels as if in this day and age, 60 by 112 is not good enough. But then this is not played on computers or, to put it blindly, Excel sheets. You have nobody else crossing 30. And you're saying the one guy who scored runs also has to be the guy who scores at higher rate because others are not able to do. So by either you want that one guy to play the perfect knock every single game, or you are saying everybody else gets a free pass because Faf, Porel, everybody who's played in that order, they've hardly got it right in terms of the batting. It's Stubbs who's saved them enough. Ashutosh did that previously. Akshar Patel still played his part, but then you have batters for a reason. So I think I'm happy for KLR in that sense, but again, it just feels another story where you're not getting people to click together as a unit, and that is what is hampering DC because With the bat, you still felt they are a few short. They did not use Ashutosh, they did not use Vepraj as well. So either you go harder earlier or you find a way, because Delhi are not finding a way to get those impetus runs. So I don't know how they'll get it also.
Yeah, tough times for Delhi because Chandan Ramya had this to say right now. Yes, not just with KL, with Porel, with Karun, they played around with the position a lot. DC failed to optimize the potential of their players. Akshay, can you put a finger on why? I mean, because I'm pretty sure it's a unanimous call with the selectors, or is it too many cooks spoiling the broth there with Badani having his inputs? Of course, the captain and Akshar Patel, Kevin Peterson, whether he has a say in the grand scheme of things. Who's making the calls, and why is there a game of musical chairs happening in that Delhi top order?
I did watch the show that you love to watch every morning, DRS. Apparently, there has been a bit of a, groupism scene forming there. Apparently, there are two small groups, and there's been a bit of a muddle that's going on within the dressing room. At least that's what they had to say. So अभी तो सोर्स ही है. आप सीधा जाके वहां पे देख सकते हो. जिनको कन्नड़ा समझ आता है तो आप वहां पे जाके देख सकते हो. And about Karun Nair in particular, I do think that they could have probably given him a longer rope because not just because of the fact that he scored 89 against Mumbai, sure, of course, that also needs to be considered. But yeah, almost all of his dismissals were such soft, मतलब innocuous dismissals. ये मतलब ऐसा भी नहीं कि बंदा फॉर्म में नहीं है, फॉर्म में भी है. It just seemed कि यार ये क्या तरीका आउट होने का यार. So I just thought they could have probably stuck with him longer. And the fact that they replaced him with Samir Rizvi. In all fairness, I don't think Samir Rizvi 2 मैच खेला वो यहाँ पे और चेन्नई के लिए भी जब खेला ठीक है. मतलब I don't think Samir Rizvi is that good a player. Of course, I might be proven wrong, and I hope that he proves me wrong. तो अगर समीर रजवी आपका बैकअप है, करुण नायर को तो मौका दे ही सकते हो. एक्सपीरियंस भी, यू नेवर नो वेयर दैट हेल्प्स. एंड apart from that, yeah, I wouldn't fault the personnel so much. It's just the on-field tactics, the captaincy. It's been very poor, yaar. Very, very, very poor. Field placements की बात कर लो, bowling changes की बात कर लो. मतलब कहाँ कितना players को गाली देते रहोगे. Like there's only so much that a KL can do. There's only so much that even a Karun can do. अगर आपके कप्तान ने डिसाइड कर लिया कि उसको नटराजन से पहला ओवर कराना है, तो करुण के उसका कुछ नहीं बिगाड़ सकता मेरे भाई. वो बिगड़ चुके हैं वहीं पे. And I'm happy to see that a lot of experts have also come out. Even Tom Moody spoke about this. Just today morning, I saw that clip where he also spoke about the fact that I've coached Natarajan. I've been a part of setups where he's also played. Not once have I ever seen Natarajan bowling with the new ball. He's always been a defensive option who bowls at the back end of the power play if needed, one in the middle overs, and then go over that. Simple. So it's very bizarre tactics. I don't know who's at the helm of it. Is it Hemang Badani? Is it Venugopal Rao? Is it Kevin Peterson, like you said, which I hope not. But yeah.
I mean, Hemang Badani was with Tom Moody when Natarajan was at SRH, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I think he was. I mean, it's just something to think about from a Delhi Capitals fan perspective also, because even Santosh pointing out, DC have to fix their opener. 7 different combinations at the top is not making anyone a favor. And it's almost resembling KKR 2-3 seasons ago where they tried Sheldon Jackson. I think they had Aaron Finch that season. They just kept...
They had your favorite, Mr. Wanker.
Mr. Anchor, they had him as well. How could I forget that?
No names taken. Let's not take
no
names
taken. No names taken. Was he with Mr. Anchor? Mr. Never mind. I called him another. AJ Ragnarok saying Akshay does his job, but I hope they stop sending him higher from next season. It worked for India because of those pitches in the World Cup, but IPL matches are generally high scoring. I mean, AJ Ragnarok, before the IPL started with Akshay getting captaincy, everyone was saying, oh, he should be batting higher. He's being wasted down the order, so you can't have it both ways. And I don't know whether you were sharing that sentiment earlier. Chandan Ramya saying, hope DC can pull off one game at least just to keep the tournament interesting. I would agree with you fully on that. Just to beat Mumbai, I'm guessing. Why Natarajan was not playing so many games? Again, questions that the...
Because apparently Mukesh Kumar and Dushmanta Chamira are better bowlers than him. So, yeah.
yeah, again, questions that the management really need to ask. A shame KL's innings went in vain. Yeah, agreed. 112 was good, even though many people said it was a slow knock. His first 10, 11 balls were slow, but then he really kind of caught up. Right, let's quickly move on, guys, because we spent almost 1 hour. We've not even moved to best of the rest, and we want to talk about the India A squads, of course. But really, really quickly, then let's preview this week. Starting tomorrow, Knicks, I'll give you the game and then we'll give each other some games to preview. CSK RR, that's happening. Let me just, of course, tell you where it's happening. It's happening in Delhi. Yes. So the biggest way to preview this game is youngest in the league in Vaibhav Suryavanshi versus oldest in the league, MS Dhoni. So what are you expecting to see from a CSK lens in these last two games? You're a fan, you can talk to me.
I'm hoping to see maybe Kamlesh gets a game. I don't know who for, but he's been there. He's been bowling well in the nets. I don't see a clear spot where he can come in and play, but it will be interesting if he comes in. I don't know if Ashwin, they'll play Ashwin again against RR. Enough lefties to hai wahan pe. And anyways, he's a good enough option today. Yeah, sorry, you wanted to say something.
When did Kamlesh Nagarkoti play last in the IPL? I mean, for people who might have
Delhi
not
Capitals 2022.
Okay, so he's been out in the cold for like last 2-3 years. Was it injury as well laying him off?
Bit of injury, and he was not even bought by any side. Na 24 though किसी के साथ नहीं था. It was just unsold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, Urval Patel, I'm guessing, will obviously be attention again tomorrow.
Oh, 100% sure. I think I'm interested to see if CSK come against a bowling attack that is not bowling well in the power play, how do they go? Last game they had to lose 5 wickets to score 60 runs. Maybe this time you can lose 2, 3 less and try and score those 55, 60. Again, Ayush Matre is a name that I'm looking forward to. Ayush Matre, Vaibhav Suryavanshi catch up in this manner. I don't think that is something any of us had on our bingo card. This is how they'll come across each other, and I won't be surprised if Khalil is hit for a few sixes by Suryavanshi, because again he likes to bowl full. Vaibhav is always waiting for that one, so should be a good dead rubber for the tournament, but plenty for the people to play for. There is lots for Dhruv Jurel to get, lot for Shimon Hetmar to get, Noor Brevis, Shivam Dubey from a franchise, so plenty to look forward to.
Yeah, indeed. Chandan asking a pertinent question at the time, and I think that will probably be the agenda for many teams. SRH, we saw today, Ash Dubey getting a cap for them. And Akshay, it just makes you think, even when we look at the other games this week, for example, Wednesday, we're seeing MIDC, which is a high stakes game. How are you seeing that game kind of pivot? Do you think because it's in Mumbai, MI have a massive advantage and it's a pressure game and they just invariably turn up? They're a big game, big team winning sort of vibe.
Toss भैया, toss जीतना पड़ेगा पहली बात तो. The chasing side will have a massive advantage, say what you may. That's been the case even with Mumbai Indians this year. 4 of their wins at the Wankhede have come while chasing. There's a reason why that happens. In fact, only twice was a score defended successfully, and one was RCB against Mumbai, which was by the barest of margins, and the other was MI against the hapless LSG. So Delhi firstly would have to hope कि भाई पहले टॉस जीत लो ताकि कम से कम कंडीशंस आपके फेवर में हो, बिकॉज बाकी सारे तो आपके फेवर में फिलहाल नहीं है. And then from there, I hope there are a couple of changes made. Firstly, Fafdu has to go. As much as I love him, he hasn't been in the greatest of form this season. DC has to recognize that and understand कि ठीक है भाई, हमने वाइस कैप्टन उनको बनाया था, बट इसका मतलब ये नहीं, कहीं लिखा नहीं है रूल बुक में कि if you've made someone a vice captain, then they have to mandatorily play every game. It's okay, आप रेस्ट करा सकते हो, उनको कुछ भी बोल सकते हो आप. In fact, ask Team India, they'll come up with creative ways of telling how they've benched, rested, relaxed, comforted, whatever adjectives you want, they'll give you. अब वो बोल के फाफडू को रिलैक्स करा. Savikola Atal needs to come in. I want to see how Atal goes about his business. I'm not going to say Atal is an upgrade over Fafdu, but Atal is something ना. अभी फिलहाल फाफडू से आप एक्सपेक्ट नहीं कर सकते. तो अटल से कुछ तो एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हो, एंड infusion of fresh blood might just work wonders for them. Firstly that. Secondly, भाई replacement ही नहीं है यार इनके पास, तो क्या ही बोले. तो second change तो होने से रहा. I still wouldn't mind if they consider Mukesh Kumar for Dushmanta Jamira, because अगर आपको दुश्मनता जमीरा से न्यू बॉल भी नहीं कराना तो जमीरा कुछ नहीं कर रहा है ब्रो. Might as well play Mukesh Kumar there, but point है कि उनके पास overseas players और कौन है? Ferreira मेरे को तो बिल्कुल, I've never rated Ferreira very highly. So DC right now it seems a bit too chaotic. Just win the toss and hopefully, potentially win the game.
Okay, lots to take in there in your DCMI preview, MIDC preview, and he's given you both languages. And I tried telling Akshay, just it is an English podcast, but no, he just carries on with his Hindi. And apologies.
Recorded a Baithak 6 hours ago, so I'm guessing it's still stuck in my head.
Exactly, save it for that strand. English only, I'm sorry. It has to be a scene like that. Remaining fixtures then, and talk about the Thursday game, because next back to you here, CSK from Delhi, they move to Ahmedabad. And if they win at Ahmedabad, where GT have been so strong, again, it just tells you no game can be taken lightly, despite where you are on the points table.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a game that I'm looking forward to see if GT want to try a few things. Because again, for all the love of God and not wanting law of average to catch up, God bless. हो जाए उस दिन 10 पे 3 मैं बोल रहा हूँ, नॉट बिकॉज चेन्नई कोई और टीम होता तो भी मैं बोलता कि एक get it out of your system where Gill gets a single digit score, Sai also gets a single digit score, Butler forgets how to hold a bat and get it done so that it's done and then their playoffs are sorted, because you will have to have some of your 4-5s getting good enough balls, 30-40 balls. And again, it sounds weird, but you've already qualified for the playoffs. Yes, finishing top 2 is very, very important, and you still have a game. So I think that is the game where I want to see what is their potential backup plan to a worst case scenario. And for Chennai, there is only positives to gain because you'll only try more people there. So I think GT can afford to take that risk as well.
Sorry, let me just confirm. I think the GT game against CSK is on Sunday. I think we've got that slightly wrong. GT LSG is on Thursday. So that's the game that, of course, will happen on Thursday. And then Sunday, I think GT plays CSK in Ahmedabad. Friday, back to you, Akshay, RCB, SRH. First of all, will the weather kind of subside? I know you're a weatherman, but what's your best bet? I think we should get some sort of game that's a similar sentiment we shared before the KKR game, but what's your gut feel, bruv?
Yeah, we did. In fact, I तो boldly said, अरे 40 ओवर मिल जाएगा, टेंशन मत लो. 4 घंटे की बारिश कहाँ होती है बैंगलोर में? And cut to 4
Why are you
later.
speaking Hindi?
Oh my goodness!
Stop it.
Okay, my bad. But I really said that in Hindi. I'd spoken about this to Vikas. No, the statement was made in Hindi, so that's why. That was the reason. But apologies. But yeah, right now, in terms of what Bangalore, the MET and all have also recommended is, ki boss, all of you stay indoors. None of you have to work from offices. In fact, some of the MPs have also urged companies ki don't ask your employees to come over for the next 2 days. So it's going to be heavy rains, and this is going to be the case for the next 3-4 days. So potentially we could see another game being washed out entirely. Right now, as things stand, it is very much possible because today it's been raining all day long. Yesterday it rained from 1:30 in the night to about 6 in the morning. So it's been torrential downpour. So I wouldn't be surprised if another match is abandoned. And I don't think, as a fan of the side, and also if I were a part of the management, I'd be too happy because we know how IPL rules work. Is it top 2, or when it comes to 2 teams being tied on points, NRR is the secondary consideration. The primary consideration is wins, which is what's happened to RCB before. RCB have already been hardened by this once before in 2015 when they were tied with MI on points, but unfortunately because of them having more wins, they qualified they made it to the top 2, and RCB unfortunately had to finish third. I hope that's not the case this time.
Oh, that's a riveting point. Now, that's something that I didn't know. So if you guys, of course, think similarly, if that could happen, who knows? Because there is a lot of permutation combinations. Apparently, yesterday's rain was like the 3rd highest recorded rainfall since quite a while, saying Chandan Ramaya. We felt it all, especially when I got back home. We played cricket in the office till about 1 a.m. Actually, I think I got back home until 1:30. Then I ended up watching Mobland and it started pouring. So I obviously just charged all my devices and stuff like that. But I think this whole week on any weather app, it looks pretty bad. Santosh Shuruppa saying Friday it'll get better. We'll have a curtailed game. The best thing about Chinnaswamy is that the water drainage system is beautiful over there. The weather is good for Friday around the match time, but it is Bangalore. You never know. Sports Hustler, welcome to the chat. Next couple of days are bad, but Thursday, Friday are looking better. And Barish may mean RCB finish third. Look, whatever it is, we'll of course be there to cover it for you all. And I really hope RCB finishes top two, or else our season is done for practical purposes. I mean, again, SRH being the only team to win the competition, finishing third, is what Akshay said in the watch along yesterday. So something to consider, guys. Something to consider indeed. But this time, even if we tie on points, we won't have different wins/losses, right?
Yeah, that's because if RCB and Punjab are the two teams tied, which is in all likelihood going to be the case, because both have had one game washed out. But Santosh, this time around, because if another game is washed out, then RCB will be contending with GT, not Punjab. Let's assume GT lose the next game, then it's RCB versus GT for that one spot, and Punjab being the other team going through. So in that case, then what, right? So that's why you cannot. I hope that there is a game one way or the other. I never wish for a match abandoned by rain. It's just unfair on the audience, unfair on the players, unfair on the viewers. So
yeah, rain. Literally, just the one frustrating part is that it stops cricket. Otherwise, I don't mind the rain at times with the tea and pakoras coming out and all of that. Right, we've spoken a lot, and there's still quite a bit to get through to, including Akshay's quiz, remember. But first up, it is Best of the Rest, where we talk about all the other international fairs in the world of cricket. Right. Essentially, we want to start with India A and the squads being announced. Now, if you guys don't know what that squad looks like, do not worry, because in the next 5-10 minutes, we'll just preview that for you all in terms of what's going to happen, when are they going to leave, so on and so forth. But first, the names on your screen. Abhimanyu Easwaran, who's not played the IPL as yet, and it's good to see that the Ranji lad is captaining this particular team. Not many people agreeing maybe with the vice captaincy selection, but Dhruv Jurel gets the nod for that. There are other interesting names. Karun Nair being brought back into the fold after I think he got some county games not too long ago. NKR keeps his place. Shardul keeps his place in terms of the all-rounders in the side. And more names just to break down with you all in the next couple of minutes. Nix, I'll come to you here. What are the most interesting names? And we'll let the graphic remain on the screen, because let people soak in what this squad can do and maybe how many can enter the India squad for that 5-match series. Start with the names which interest you and excite you, Nikhil.
Yeah, two names quite stand out for me. First is Sarfaraz. Well done to him. I think he's also done what he feels is important for him and his career in the Test cricket side. So I'm very keen to see how he goes about his business, batting at 5 or 6 wherever he does. And bowling we've lacked discipline in Australia. So that's where I really feel that it's very interesting to see Anshul Kamboj get in again. He's been in a red hot form in red ball cricket, had a great Dulip Trophy as well. So if he starts, I'm very interested to see how he goes about his business, because we don't know the type of surfaces we'll get, but control is something that's non-negotiable for a test match bowler. So I think those are the two names that I hope get a good run, and then we see how they are going to shape up, if at all they make it to the senior side.
Akshay, what about you? Because obviously Ashwin, Rohit, Virat, the evident names calling it a time in Test cricket. So those are 3 vacancies. Are there any good potential that you see in these names that could probably fill in that Test team and maybe more?
Into the Test side, slightly difficult, but happy to see some of the pacers picked. Anshul Kamboj and Khalil Ahmed both. I wouldn't mind seeing Khalil Ahmed also being picked for the main squad should he do decently well in the A-tour. We would love to have a left-arm seamer who can swing the ball, importantly, both ways. Arshdeep Singh has been the talk of the town when it comes to that. Usko debut de dete hai. I hope Khalil Ahmed is also being spoken about in the same vein. Harshit Rana, Akashdeep, Mukesh Kumar, all 3 usual suspects expectedly. Tushar Deshpande is an interesting shout. Shardul Thakur is another player that I'll be looking forward to, even more so than Nitish Kumar Reddy, because in all fairness, I think Shardul Thakur will be the player that I would want in my 11. Now, I mean, a fully firing Shardul Thakur would add a lot more value to the Indian side than a fully firing Nitish Kumar Reddy. That's how I look at it. I think we are in need of a bowling all-rounder who can add more. I mean, who can sort of shoulder the responsibility of Jasprit Bumrah, Siraj, and in all likelihood, Prasidh Krishna or whoever it is, the third pacer that is. So
yeah, that squad is interesting because now that I look at it, it could be two ex CSK and two current CSK to be the pace battery for the England Lions tour. Because if you actually look at it, Anshul Kamboj, who plays for CSK, there's Tushar Pandey, who played for CSK, there's Khalil with Nick's just talking about, and not to forget Shardul Thakur also adding pace over there. Now, this tour is very important because a lot of people might still be, of course, staying on with the main team because it's a 5-match test series. I think Gambhir and his team is going to be leaving on the 4th of June or the 6th of June, if I'm not wrong, intentionally, because the 20th of June is when the games start. But the India A games are 30th of June to June 2nd. The first one's in Canterbury. Again, testing conditions there. Pleasant at this time of year, but still will be, of course, a good test for all these young boys. And then the second game is in Northampton, and that's the 6th of June to 9th of June. Maybe there will be more players in that game, and we could see Gambhir himself part of that. And then there's, of course, another tour match in Beckenham, where India themselves will get a little sniff in terms of all the main players, your Bumrahs, your Jadejas, just to get some more miles in the legs, I'm guessing. So that's how it stacks up essentially. Now, the last question that we just want to ask to finish up this chat is that is this India A squad indicative of India's new test team? I know there's no Pant, Bumrah, Jadeja, but forget all the big boys. There's also no Shreyas Iyer. So does this mean in a way that people are already kind of saying, the ship has sailed on Shreyas Iyer, the test match player? Akshay, I'll come with you here first.
I wouldn't go as far as to say that the ship has sailed for him, but right now I'm guessing that the think tank is looking at other players over him. Understandably so, because they might feel that Karun Iyer, for instance, is in red dot form. Dhruv Jurel is someone who's been a part of the setup in the recent past. Same is the case with, Sarfraz Khan too. So I can see where they're coming from. They're probably trying to first give a long enough rope to the players already in the setup before bringing in newer players. I would imagine the only bone of contention, like Shreyas Iyer, at best could have taken Karun Iyer's position. I don't see any other player whom he could have replaced. But you can also see why Karun Iyer also deserved a spot there. So if I was Shreyas Iyer, I would still feel hard done by. But if I were Siachi Agarkar, I would stand by my decision. I could see where they're coming from. So it's a fair call right now. I hope in the future, if and when a spot or a vacancy does arise, not necessarily in the 11, even in the squad, Shreyas Iyer does come back in because I think he is a good enough India player. And importantly, when they play at home, I'm guessing that also might have played a role over here. The fact that they're playing in England, seamer friendly, swing friendly conditions. So maybe that might have tilted the case in Karun Iyer's favor. He's played for the Northants last year, had a more than decent outing for them. So he's got some experience. He knows how to go about his business there. Maybe that worked in his favor. With Shreyas Iyer comes the home season later on this year. We very well might see him being picked again.
Yeah, I mean, we were calling it during the watch along in terms of vaguely what our test team would be. I mean, I said left field selection. I like Karun Iyer. Apart from my Karnataka bias, I think because, like you just mentioned, he's gone account, he's done it there instead of throwing a newbie into the scheme of things. Again, when you go back to those names, you don't think of a few names who were part of the last test squad. Remember, your likes of Sarfraz Khan, whether he gets a gig, Knicks. I mean, just to answer that question that we put out, what is your take? Is it indicative of India's new test team? I know there's no KL, Jadeja, Bumrah, all the names I mentioned, but any of these few new guys who can actually knock on the door and be like, we're here to stay for the long run?
Yeah, I'll hope that is the case at least for Sarfaraz because again, I would like some continuity, and I do not for once like people being rubbed off even before they are given a chance. They are given a chance. Ke, ye to ye nahi hi chalega. That is a line of thinking that I don't like to think for test players at least, let alone wide ball format because there you still feel the requirement is very niche. Test cricket is a different requirement, but you have to give people chance to fail also. So. Uh, I want to see that aspect also taken care of. Now, at this point of time, we still don't know how many of them will actually start. So maybe once they play is when we will be in a better position to say whether this is an indication of what's to follow. Because we saw in Australia, they wanted to play a lot of all-rounders. Now, if you want to do that, great, but then they have to bowl. So Nitish is bowling right now, last over of an IPL game. But if he can bowl in England, then that is what matters far more.
What about your boy Gaikwad? Because he's in the 11, I mean, in the squad, but because
Yes,
Eastwaran is a
what?
right-hand opener, do you think he'll keep him out?
At this point of time, I have no clue because Rutraj has been part of India setups, but wasn't there in Australia. I mean, I can't recall why, what happened there. But if he starts and Eastern doesn't, then there's a debate that what is the pecking order? How are you deciding that pecking order? Or Gaikwad is someone who's going to bat lower down the order. That is something that I'm not ruling out. Maybe 4 or 5, who knows? So again, we'll have to wait for that game to begin. There's Dhruv Jurel as well, and we've been asking him to bat higher up the order, but kidhar? So that is again, it's a very interesting lineup. No matter who plays, will always have some complaints. That is always going to be there.
Those 3 games will give us answers, that's for sure. Priyanshu Dhawan saying he was in Australia, Ritu, for those store games, and there was a lot of those other guys. Ritu got really fast, saying Amit Karai. Washi for Test and Akshar for ODIs and T20s, reckoning freaking awesome. And Akshar or Washi, pick one. Essentially, I mean, because we have Jadeja still, Akshar might eventually come in, but Washi, just because he's an off spinner, I would go for that. I see BCCI adding more playoff to the rest of the practice matches. One IPL's playoffs finish, I agree. And one of Arshdeep, Prasid, Akashdeep should have been in there instead of Tushar. Clearly, they've avoided the IPL playoff players. And NKR is
Akash
bowling.
Deep is a part of the squad, though, just to be clear. He is already a part of the squad, but
Wow. And
Fair.
he's hit a six. First one.
Yeah. And why no Sai Kishore? Again, some of the questions that we can answer going forward
GT
with.
title winner, bro.
Yeah, it's a DG. I mean, maybe. I really think Ishwaran will play the first test. He's captain, so I think. I mean, you're saying of the main series. I mean, again, it's going to be a shot in the dark, but he was tipped to play one of the games in the BGT. Didn't happen, so I don't know what gives them confidence this time around. Right, sticking with the BCCI, let's move on because there is some news now. Of course, we want to bring this to you because this apparently was a rumor and the BCCI have squashed it immediately by saying that we right now want to just concentrate on the IPL and the English teams with regards to the India men's and women's team touring right now. There was a rumor basically that the BCCI are going to pull the plug on the Asia Cup because the ACC chairman is Mohsin Naqvi, who's still a Pakistan interior minister. So they can do it. The rumors were that they're planning to isolate Pakistan completely from any sort of cricket that they want to play, whether it's emerging tournaments or the women's side of thing, or even in ICC global events. Just a quick bite from both of y'all. Akshay, how do you look at it? I know the BCCI's might and power and being the world's biggest body can do this. Let's make no mistake. Do you think they should not mix sport and politics, or right now it's high time we send a message to Pakistan?
I mean, it sounds a bit like message, ऐसा मैं नहीं बोलूँगा, but I don't think this is like any more about politics, right? Like, especially with what's gone down, and unfortunately with everything that's happening, I can see where BCCI is coming from. I would personally, like I've always been saying this, if you truly believe that you don't want to, sort of interact with Pakistan or you want to isolate them, the only way of doing that is a full-fledged boycott. Just go cold turkey. Do not play them anyway, even if it means that you are going to sort of lose out on tournaments or lose out on 2 points in the World Cup. That is the way of showing your patriotism or everything. Do not say that you're not going to play Pakistan in bilaterals and then go on to play in tournaments. So if they do this, I would stand by them. I think that would be the right move, simply because they're very clear that they are aligned with the government in terms of how they want to sort of view Pakistan, the cricket team that is. So karo bhai. I mean, isolate as in just stop playing tournaments, taking part in tournaments where they are also going to be playing in or participating in. And come the World Cup, don't play them. Just forfeit those games and concede the 2 points. You must, sort of put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, Gautam Gambhir also was pretty vocal about it in talk show recently, Nikhil. The fact that as a coach, he went on to say we shouldn't play Pakistan till all this terrorism stops, and quote unquote him. Where do you stand in all of this? And with BCCI obviously being the most powerful cricketing body, Can this kind of really upset the apple cart for the Asian countries in the Asia Cup and so on and so forth?
Yeah, firstly, we need to see if it actually happens. At this point in time, we have no proof of this actually happening. So, as I said, even Akshay and we've all been on this route before that you cannot say something and do something else. So, you can't say that you don't want to play, but then you play them, you wantedly play them every 6 months or 1 year because you know it will get you the money, and then you have things been done for the sake of the game. So decide for once and stick to it. Let it first happen, and then we'll know. Because if that happens, a lot of things will change. Because then the groups will be different. They might be fair, might actually be a lottery. Who knows how they will be done in the future? So we need to first see if this is done, and then we can possibly see that where this is going to head.
Yeah, it's interesting one because if you guys are watching this right now, the who was it? The BCCI president himself, the secretary rather, Devajit Sakia, he went on to say that they are not even thinking about any of that at this moment in time. They will take call in the near future. And again, it remains to be seen what happens. Let me know in the comments below what you guys have to say on this matter. Right, swiftly moving on to other international things, and let's quickly preview the England versus Zimbabwe Test. And it's been a while since we've seen Test cricket. This time, not all 5 days, but 4 days in Trent Bridge. And the biggest question is, can Zimbabwe live up to the billing? They've not started the tour well, Akshay. They lost a county game to Dan Mousley's side, and it also featured Jafar Chauhan, who scored 56 for the bat. But all eyes will be in Muzarabani, all eyes will be in Gary Balance. What's the fascinating subplot for you with England Zimbabwe this week?
I mean, subplots would be a bit of a stretch. I don't know to what extent will I be able to follow it given everything that's going on in terms of the IPL and whatnot. But I would be keeping a keen eye on the bowling attack, and now, of course, pressing with Zirabani in particular. Unka batting bhi meko dekhna because of the way they played against Bangladesh. If you remember the test win, of course, they chased a total down in the fourth innings, that to win Bangladesh. I know Muzarabani won the player of the match, but the fact that the batters were also able to grind it out, they did come across. Thoda मैंने सिर्फ highlights देखा था clips इधर उधर. They came across as being those very old school, grind it out kind of batters, not from the baseball era clearly. So it's going to be very interesting. It's two extremely opposite ends of the spectrum, so to say, that'll collide on the 22nd. So I'm excited to see that. Of course, it's not going to be easy, man. I don't think they faced, anything like this, the caliber of the English bowlers, the movement and everything. I know it might not be a full strength bowling attack, but happy to see Zimbabwe, sort of climb up the ladder of Test cricket. There's this fantastic interview on Cricket for. I know they might be our competitors, but please do read that interview where the Zimbabwe Cricket Board was also spoken to. They are playing 11 tests, the most that they've ever played in this millennium, and the most for any side this year. Like, they're playing more than India, England, and joint highest with Australia. The fact that they're getting to play the likes of South Africa, England, New Zealand, Bangladesh, and Pakistan potentially even later on this year in the same calendar year speaks volumes of what Zimbabwe is now trying to do, with especially the disbursement that's coming their way. They've actively tried to improve their domestic setup. They've come up with a domestic season once again, a domestic tournament featuring 5 national teams. So happy to see that the groundwork is being is sort of being focused upon, and hopefully they will bear the fruits of it in the future.
Okay, Nikhil, what about your thoughts about this test series? Yeah, because Akshay mentioned it over there. Another team playing 11 tests this year is England. They have 5 against India, the 5 against Australia, and the Ashes later, and this one precursor for the summer. Baseball really has to live up to the reputation, because last year, I remember on one MNL, we actually said the demise of baseball at Rajkot. We put up a silly graphic as well. This year, Ben Stokes has come out in a recent interview saying, we want to be remembered by the way we play. And I'm desperate. He said desperate is a word to prove the world wrong. So do you think it's a new beginning for baseball 2.0, the real baseball in 2025?
If only we had a penny every time the England team said ki this is a new beginning.
I don't know. They are the save as New England, save as New England 1, save as New England 2. I don't know how many versions of them are already out there in the market. But I think that is invariably, if I think about it very holistically, I think that is going to be the biggest challenge for Zimbabwe. That how do you play to a different pace of the game that England wants you to play. They make you try and they force you into mistakes which you feel that you have to be better prepared. I know a lot of people gave Pat Cummins a lot of flack for having a deep point. There was a captain in 2011 who had a deep point, and he was also after people are after him कि भाई deep point क्यों रखा है? But if there are things that you want to see, I'll just want Zimbabwe to be very clear that this is how we will play. It doesn't matter how England wants to play. Because if they play to their pace of the game, they'll be okay. And I'm not saying they'll go on and beat England. May they do, because that is for the greater good. But if Zimbabwe feel that we can bat at the way England can, I don't want Brian Bennett, Wesley Madhavere to think that we can bat like Hariburu. कोई जरूरत नहीं. You just play to your game, to your strength, and then we see because Zimbabwe have enough people who played a lot of cricket. There is Sean Williams, there is Sikandar Raza, enough people who can guide the likes of Madhvere. And again, Madhvere played a key part in their Bangladesh win as well. He's a guy with a spunk. Again, Brian Bennett, we saw him against India also. So there are people who will take the attack to England. I just hope it's a very smart and strategic game because we are yet to see how the deck will be. So that is also something that is very interesting.
Yeah, some good names in that Zimbabwe team. I mean, the third Curran, Ben Curran's part of the Zimbabwe setup. They've got a former England player who is, of course, born in Zimbabwe, Gary Balance, who's part of the coaching setup. So he might share a trick or two. Sikandar Raza, always loved around the world for what he does in T20 cricket. Big, big litmus test for Zimbabwe, where they are in the test curriculum. And we'll take a few comments right now because we're on the topic of England, Zimbabwe. Because Keith saying easy win for England, test for last 2 days. I'll tell you what, Keith, I mean, if we get anything like England-Ireland that we did, where it happened in Lords a couple of 4 years ago, 2-3 years ago, we'll have one hell of a test game which will last 4 days. Could we see Sam Curran bowl to Ben Curran? Sam Curran isn't there, mate. He isn't there. And freaking awesome saying, sadly, no test in Nottingham this time for India because India have a good Nottingham record. I remember Kohli scoring a match-winning ton there. But yeah, England-Zimbabwe is going to be an absolute belter. If you guys love Test cricket, we haven't seen it. It's going to be something to watch. England thinks there is no concept except baseball, so invariably they bring new versions of baseball after repeated failures. Asim Hunts. Right, more coverage of England Zimbabwe on the cricket.com platform, so go check that out, and it's going to be an amazing game. Quickly, predictions: England for you, Zimbabwe for you. Who's taking whose side, and in how many days will the test get done?
I don't think there is anybody who's supporting England saying winning 2 days. I would rather have Zimbabwe winning last day, last hour. Sikandar Raza to hit the winning runs to square leg. मजा आ जाएगा.
Oh my word. I mean, that'll just obviously make world headlines and not just ripples. It'll be a earthquake news for cricket lovers for sure. Finally, because we pander to every particular game, Bangladesh UAE was happening, and one Parvez Emon literally has gone into the record books for Bangladesh by having a say in the most maximums hit in the 100 that he brought up in 54 balls against UAE. I don't know if both of these boys watched this game. Obviously, scorecards were there to see. But there's Nikhil's Towed Ridoy. And I'll come to Nikhil here first with regards to Emon. And what have Bangladesh found in a batter like Emon? And tell me more in a nutshell about this innings.
I saw Javedullah's profile. If you did not, please do check out those highlights. Always love a left arm seamer doing well. So he's been around. He's played ILT20 also, if I'm not wrong, or some leagues that I've seen him play. So he was good. Imam is not playing the second T20. Unfortunately, I haven't caught up with why. Is that reason? But they had Tanzin Hassan. And again, speaking of Javedullah's taken a wicket. So how things how things work in this field. But yeah, I think Tamim did Tanzin Hassan play today and he got a 59, 33 ball 59. So they're getting to good starts. Of course, it is Joby a UAE, but Bangladesh are trying to break free from that mold of slow, low, and that kind of again, this is away from home, but still Sharjah mein khel rahe. So they got to 190. UAE played really well for all that matters. Again, Wasim was the guy who he's invariably there. Mohammad Wasim is invariably there scoring runs. So let's see how they chase this one. But so far, so good from Bangladesh. Plenty more to do. So let's wait on that.
Yeah, just a 2-game series. This
Yeah.
UAE, Bangladesh, all happening in Sharjah, and it just makes you think about UAE because we often hear some of the names like Mohammad Wasim only in the ILT20, but whether they're the new team to watch out for, like Afghanistan did it all those years ago, remains to be seen. Right, what else to watch this week in the cricket calendar and on cricket.com's platform? Well, we have a lot to bring for you. The IPL continues, and so do we in terms of watch-alongs. RCB, SRH Friday night. Hopefully it happens. You'll see me and Akshay give all our thoughts and reactions about that. And then there is, of course, a GT CSK watch along on a Sunday, not to forget the Saturday watch along, which is a big game, Delhi, Punjab. There is more cricketing action and all the coverage, like I keep reminding you guys, is available on cricket.com. Right, time for you guys to win big because it is that time of the show where we get Akshay to play Quizmaster and have his How's That. Right, over to you. And I think, I don't want to give spoilers. I think I know today's How's That. Again, over to you, and will come to me later.
All right. Okay. Chalo, let's have the question out first. Last week, of course, right on course with Virat Kohli's retirement. I came up with a list of 6 names: Alan Hurst, Charlie Barnett, Henry Nichols, Makhaya Anthony, Shivnarine Chatterjee, and Virat Kohli. This was the list of 6 names, and it was an exhaustive list, like I mentioned last week. All I wanted was you guys had to connect the following. One of you did get it right, so congratulations on that. I'll get to who got it right. The connect, of course, is that this is the list of all the players who were okay, I'll put it this way. This is the list of all the 269th cap holders in the history of Test cricket. So England, Australia, West Indies, South Africa, New Zealand, and India. These are the only 6 teams to have had 269 or more players play for them. Sri Lanka is very close. They are at cap number 254 right now. So these are all the respective 269th players for their nation. So that was the connect between them. And that is what connects Shivnarine Chatterjee and Virat Kohli. Congratulations. Of course, AJ Ragnarok, you were the only one who got it right. There were a couple of other interesting shouts. Fantastic job there. And I remember Ragnarok actually mentioning it during last week's live itself. Ki boss, I think I've gotten the answer. I can't wait for the live stream to end to enter my answer. So good on you for getting it right, man. Excited to talk to you as well next week, of course. And let's hope for your sake that MI will also be there in the playoffs, and then we can probably take the mickey out of each other next week. Do get in touch with us on Twitter, and we will make sure that, we do the needful, of course. Coming to this week's How's That? Another interesting one, I hope. There we go. When KKR faced RCB on Saturday, after an 8-day break, they became the first ever team to achieve a unique feat. Arguably, such an instance might never occur again, ever. Once again, when KKR faced RCB on Saturday, after an 8-day break, they became the first ever team to achieve a unique feat. Arguably, such an instance might never occur again, ever. What are we talking about? So very simple. Like always, please wait for the live stream to end. Do not enter your answers over here. Wait for the live stream to end. Enter your answers in the main comment section at the end of the live stream in order to remain eligible to chat with us. Of course, Avni is going for a quickie there.
Man, I need to feed my cat, hence I keep going. It's 9:30. Essentially, meow, meow. It just keeps calling me.
I love Anish, nice choice of words. I love that quick info.
Wild. But honestly, good question. I think I know it, but maybe before Akshay announces the winner in the next week, MNL, I'll probably have my say because I think I saw the stat on cricket.com itself. But anyway, not to give you further clues, because there is a special fan like we've been getting on previous MNLs. We have another one joining us in just a bit, and that is Priyanshu Dhawan. I know you guys would have seen him in the chat, and I think he'll be ready to go in just a couple of minutes. But lots more to come in the MNL. If you guys are listening later on in the week or right now live, please drop a like. Final segment is 12th Man, where we take some of your questions, and like I was reiterating earlier, we'll try to get the fan on as well. So 12th Man, here we go. Right, there he is. In all his glamour, Priyanshu Dhawan, good to see you for the first ever time, mate. How are you on this Monday, May 19th, 2025?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just watching the game and the and the MNL.
Happy to see you.
Super.
And Priyanshu, this one help. Could you just make it landscape so that we can see you in your true glory?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a requirement
Buzzing.
we always have of anyone who
Yeah.
joins us, be it Graham Swan or anyone else. Priyanshu, while you fix your camera, I'll ask you some obvious questions that we ask all the fans. First of all, your first love for the game that we talk about. Essentially, tell me your cricket beginnings, your favorite player, and a little brief introduction of what you do as well.
I'm not sure. Not able to do it on the landscape. I'm on the browser.
Is your screen
Not.
unlock? I mean, have you sort of locked your screen rotation?
Yeah, that will be the case.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
just
if it
unlocked it
is
and then you.
spotted only, then it will change. Yes. But,
Technology at its
2025 producers doing producer things,
Ah,
and yep, there we go.
There we
there we
go.
Yeah.
go.
Akshay knows his shit, man. He knows his shit. Anyway, Priyanshu, carry on and answer my
Yeah.
questions if you can, please.
Yeah, I think the love for the game started with the family. So I think my father and brother were big fans of cricket. Actually, in my childhood, I didn't like cricket that much till I think I was in till 2007. So it used to be a sort of a love-hate relationship that I had with the game. So earlier, when I till 2007, my brother and father used to watch it, and I was like, "Why are they watching this game? Like, what fun is this?" But then when I started watching it, and now I am daily like, watching all the games and everything. So I think that's been initially in my early years. I only knew about Sachin. Like we used to see him in all the ads and everything. He was the guy like everyone wanted to be like him. So initially, I just used to tell my brother and father that whenever Sachin comes, then let me know. I will watch. Started properly watching from the 2007 T20 World Cup. That's why, and I think T20 first got me to the game. Like it was a shorter game. You get into the game. Then I slowly and slowly get it started watching ODIs. Test was a thing which I got a sense of it little later, because in younger days you don't realize how beautiful test match cricket is. I think that you realize a little later when you become a little mature fan. So I think, yeah, that is how my journey has been. And currently I work at Citibank, so that is what I do.
Fascinating. We'll let you have your questions also to us, but what's your prediction with the IPL now happening, man? Because RCB, GT, and Punjab have qualified. First, tell me who your top four will be, and then your winners, please.
I think top three. So we have the top three. I think the fourth will be MI. I would like DC to qualify, but seeing how they are playing and how MI are playing, so I think it will be MI will be which will be the fourth team. And I think top two will be important. Like we have seen in the IPL, the team which finish in top two go into the final, except a couple of occasions that has happened. So I think the top two positions will be important. What I see is that GT and RCB have relatively easier games, you can say, compared to PBKs, like they play MI and DC. So I think GT RCB look in prime position to finish in the top two. I think that is what I see GT RCB, to be in the qualifier one, and then MI PBKs in the eliminator. So after that, I think MIPBKS, I think what all the reports are saying that the eliminator might happen in Mumbai. So I think that will favor MI. Knowing that PBKS how well they are playing in MI, but MI in a knockout is like you can say they play a notch above what they usually play. So I think MI will start as favorite in that game, but still I think what traditionally has happened, I think it will be GT-RCB final. And after and that, I think it might be RCB season. I think. GT are like what happened with India in 2019 World Cup. They might have one day that, and especially now rainy season has also began. So I think there will be a day where, the pitch might spice up and they might lose a couple of new ball wickets to some could see maybe Blessing Muzarpani might be that guy that the RCB has signed up. So I think they are as much I've liked how they have played, I think Shubman Gill and Sai Sudharsan, I think they are two of the most aesthetic batters to watch, like one of the best opening pairs you can get. But there is one thing that they are due, that one failure of the top order, and then that can come in a big day. So this is how I see, I think that I can might pan out.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to hear from fans like you. Imagine that happens. Akshay Aspi's first ever title, and it's all thanks to a Zimbabwe coach, Zimbabwe bowler. Who would have thought? Priyanshu, over to you then, because obviously we're strapped for time. So if you have any questions for Nick, Akshay, me, you can ask them right now. The space is yours, bud.
Yeah, just a general question that came in my mind. Like all of us have been watching cricket for so many years. So, any one you can say learning or any life lesson that you have taken from this sport that you have inculcated in your life, or you want to, like put it in your life, like that you want to, have it, like any particular life lesson or learnings, one particular that stands out.
That's a great
Just a
question.
general question.
Shall I go
Yeah.
first, and then you boys will answer?
Sure, sure.
So for me, essentially growing up in the 90s and the 2000s, Test cricket was my calling, and Rahul Dravid was a role model that I had. So he described everything that I wanted to see in terms of just not a Test cricketer, but a man. Determination, great courage, discipline, how to have a daily regiment and routine, which is just so important for people's lives. Sports always been amazing to get the characteristics out of you, right? So even right now, as a fellow colleague or a manager, I relate to cricket and I relate to life examples like that to get the best around the people working around with me, or even if I have to self-reflect. It's obviously sticking to the process, something that Nikhil obviously says as well, and we all kind of live by that ethos. So it's a good question that you ask. I want to know what Akshay and Nix think. Nix, you first, and then Akshay can go last. What life characteristics do you take out of the game that we love the most, Nikhil?
To me, it is controlling the controllables. And again, it sounds cliche, but I think that has been one of the biggest life learning lessons for me. That after a point of time, I've stopped seeing life as how I wanted it to and seeing it for what it is. Okay, if something is happening, I need to be very honest with myself that if this is happening, how much of this is the controllable? And if I can figure it out, if I am responsible for it, then I know I can change this. But if I'm not responsible for it and there is nothing that I could do about it, then there is nothing that I have to think or worry about that this is something I'll do next time. So I think that is something that I've tried to live by. It is not an easy thing to do because sometimes we want to play like be self like no, I want to protect myself, but then you have to have those conversations with yourself. Can I ye cheez hua, you are responsible, you need to do better. And same is how I look at the match ke bhai, agar if there is an edge, is it an educated one or a clear one? That is something we can make out after watching it for so many years. So that is the one thing that I try and imbibe in my life.
Good one. Akshay, what about you?
Yeah, and firstly, spoken like a true, MBA grad. So good on you for asking that question. That you've done your MBA, right? I remember you talking about gas firms.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes,
but
yes.
yeah, coming back, of course, like something what Avnish alluded to towards the end of his bit, like focusing on processes. I wouldn't say process, of course. Personal life में process जैसा कुछ नहीं होता. What I realize is to try and sort of focusing less about the output in terms of what's actually going to happen. Just focus within yourself what you can do, and less on what will the end result be like. For instance, in terms of the work we do, especially given that there's so much, there's such a short feedback loop, right? Like we are doing something where we have to interact with people and everything. Like it is important for us to understand that not everything is in our hands. Just trying to focus on what you can do and then leave the rest to whatever is going to happen. But yeah, that was a very interesting question. Something that I feel we will need a lot more time to properly dissect and talk about. But definitely, yeah, this is one thing that stuck with me.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, essentially, it's almost one of those questions that you can write a essay about it because we love cricket,
Yeah.
we love it, we draw so many comparisons with it. Finally, we'll end your time with us here on the MNL Priyanshu. But I ask you a simple question. Again, the obvious one. What if you liked about cricket.com? What do you think we should do going forward? You're one of our most loyal sort of guys in the chat. So want to hear from you, all yours.
I think I really like the watch along concept. I think I started like coming to a channel through watch alongs. I think through it was from last year's WPL watch along because I think no one else was covering WPL as much as you guys were doing. I think Akshay was there in every like I was there in every watch along where Akshay was there. I think he will know. So yeah, and he's also jealous of the fact that I watched RCB winning the title live, the WPL one. So yeah, I think watch along is a concept that I liked a lot. Like I think the last year one where I think there were three of you where Nikhil also was joined. I think more the people better it gets. I think that is something that I enjoyed more. I think, but yeah, I think watch along is something I think you interact a lot as well. In between the game when nothing is happening, we discuss a lot of stuff like we do in watch along. So I think that it becomes like that is the one of the most interesting aspect. And also this MNL, I think once a week, you get a holistic view of what is happening, then you be discuss as well. So yeah, I think more of watch alongs is what I would recommend, what I love about the channel more. Yeah, I think that is what I will say.
That's brilliant. On that note, thanks for your time, Priyanshu. All the best for the remainder of the
Yep.
week, the remainder of the month, and the year ahead, of course. And keep supporting us in the chats, and we'll see you through and wish you well with all the stuff.
Thank you so much,
Thank you. Thank
Priyanshu.
you
Take care.
guys.
Cheers. Well done. Priyanshu, what a lad, man. Honestly, it's these kind of moments that we enjoy in Monday Night Live podcast that fans come in and have their say. It's a unique one, like you can see in the ticker as well, that if you want to have your say, answer the questions, then you can be the Priyanshu next week. Right, guys, it's been fantastic to get your time. Just a few questions that we've missed, of course. The ones coming through the chat. We'll just take those before we wrap up proceedings. Did we answer this? Guys, so totally how many overseas players are missing from original squad? Give me a number.
Which squad?
He's talking about, I think, generally all the two squads in the IPL. How many have gone back home? I mean, we don't have a number on it, right?
I'm guessing what, like Englishman may say Bethel will be the one going back. Bethel will probably be Bethel and Butler, two players going back. South Africa, there's Ngidi, there's who else? I'm forgetting.
Ryan Rickleton.
Ryan Rickleton, Tristan Stubbs. So make that three. So 3 plus 2, 5. I'm guessing 5 or 6 players won't be available for the playoffs.
Oh, no, Rabada bhi jayega. Sorry.
Rabada. So 6. Make that 6.
I think we've explained it to you at the top of the show. Go check that out. Even it's on the website as well. Finally, a few more questions. Wasn't Shivam Shukla asked to be net bowler asking some with VK?
Yes,
He was.
yes. He was RCB's net bowler. And again, just to be clear, जैसे किसी ने पूछा था, so that does not mean he is eligible to play for RCB.
Yeah, exactly.
And Gokul Garg following up that by asking, can they retain Shukla?
Nope. They cannot.
He also asked who was the last player from Zimbabwe in IPL before Raza.
Brendan Taylor, technically in 2015, was a part of SRH squad, and Ray Price was the last Zimbabwean to play. Yeah, 2011.
Okay. Sticking with Zimbabwe,
that we had.
Sticking with Zimbabwe, Abbas Kundi saying Zimbabwe has test match with England. How is Blessing available? The test match gets over the 25th, right? It's a 4-day test match.
Yeah.
So he might be there for the 27th game that LSG CB are playing.
No, he's only eligible for the playoffs. He eligibility playoffs because Ngidi is available till then, right? So Abbas, he won't have to miss the game. He'll finish the game, fly in, and probably be in Bangalore or with the RCB setup by the 27th, and the playoffs begin on the 29th, if I'm not wrong.
29th.
So he'll be there.
Okay. Apex saying Asia Cup senior. We just, of course, discussed that rather. So literally something for the BCCI to think about in a while after the IPL gets over. I think they will have their say. Mohammad Aran asking us this earlier when we were discussing KKR. How do you all see KKR's batting order next season? I would love to see Venki open the innings and then an RR middle order. The RR middle order, yeah, for sure. Venki, mate, he's being replaced by Manish Pandey. And this man next to me is bigging him up. Akshay Kumar Swami.
But RRR क्या फिर तो वो RR हो जाए. I mean RR हो जाएगा ना. रहाने भी तो है number 3. So I mean I don't know if Venki can open right now. But let's see how they go about handling Venki.
Okay.
They'll actually go RRR because they'll have Angrish Rajan.
That's true. Next, this one's for you. Nitish Rana, will he be retained by RR?
There's no reason for not to be retained unless they want to really get a few middle order batters because firstly, hats off to RR for that laundry joke because I, for my life, cannot get it out of me. So sorry, Pretorius, I'll call you LDP or Pretorius because if I call you that, then I'll end up speaking something else. They have now too many people. Once again, another opener added, another guy in the top order added. So invariably might have to release Nitish if I think about it, but we'll have to really think this through because you can't have six guys wanting to bat in the top three or top four. It's not going to work out well.
Okay, interesting. Finally, Cricket for asking us earlier. Avnish, please classify. It was because of the cat feeding, mate. No offense to anyone else taking part in the house. That look. Speaking of which, we're almost 2 hours of an MNL. It's a boost for you all to just check this out later on. If you guys have just tuned in, please like this video. And with that, we'll leave it there, guys. Akshay and Nikhil, thank you so much for your time. Akshay, get well soon. Nikhil, I'll see you later on in the week. For maybe another MNL, who knows? Because the IPL is hotting up. All the stats, written pieces available on the website. England Zimbabwe Test is there, and we'll be there for everything else. Sorry, we didn't really ask Akshay about Smaran. I mean, the last moment of comments coming through will just satisfy their ego.
Yeah, I mean, he's right now technically he's eligible to be retained by SRE. So if SRE is let go of him and RCB don't go after him, Andy Flower, you'll have blood on your hands.
Oh my word, you heard it there. And on that somber note, to Andy Flower at least, we'll end proceedings on MNL episode 80. Give us some love. Listen to Spotify if you guys want. And it's all available on YouTube, of course. Cheers. See you soon.